Before I invite Coach Irene to make her presentation, I did mention that I am an educator by profession. For many years, I taught at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa, coordinated partnerships for choir. So Tangaza was one of the colleges I worked with when it was a constituent college of choir, and in my own humble ways, contributed towards the accreditation of Tangaza becoming a chartered university. In the year 2018, I felt there was something more rather than being a lecturer, being in admin, and I went out to invest in myself. I signed up for a year-long program, not with PDI, with another organization, and trained to be a certified leadership, growth, and life coach. Graduated in 2019. I invested 400,000 Kenya shillings for that one-year-long program, in addition to being a mother and having to pay fees. Then in 2019, I learned about Coach Irene from my sister. They were in a coaching program together. And that year that I learned about Coach Irene, I went out to do my DISC assessment. I have my report here. I did my DISC assessment with Coach Irene. And in the year 2021, I did another assessment with her, which is called Spiritual Gifts with DISC. Spiritual Gifts with DISC, just for me to be able to understand myself better. My spiritual gifts brought out that my personality is that I am a challenger. I really challenge people. That's who God wired me to be. And I have become comfortable in my space, in my skin, to be able to challenge people and bring out the best in them. So what are we saying? It is not late for you to invest in yourself. And now, having paved the way for Coach Irene and Charles Miano, I want to first welcome Coach Irene Mureithi, the founder of Personal Development Institute, to make her presentation. Welcome, Coach Irene.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this masterclass, and thank you to all our alumni for sharing your testimonials. There's a quote I love, and I'd like to start with it and then go to my presentation. I'll be very brief because I want our partners at Nabo Capital, we have Charles who will be making a presentation to help us understand investment. As a former banker, I worked in the banking industry, the fourth largest commercial bank in Kenya for 10 years. And I was surprised about many things. Number one, Charles, is that I was still very broke even as a banker. Despite counting, people's and organizations' money every day, I was broke. So I want Nabo to help us figure out our finances. This is the quote I want you to remember if you forget everything else that I will say. Today is not just another day. It is a doorway. Today is a doorway. And that is why I want you to go back and reflect on what does the best version of yourself look like, maybe 10 years from today, 5 years from today, 3 years from today. As I drove in through the gate of Tangaza, I thanked God because I'm a better version of myself than when I attended the conference last year. Okay? So today is not just another day, it's a doorway. We need to step through it with open minds. We need to interrogate life, how we do life. As academic institutions, as a personal development institution, as churches, as businesses in the marketplace, as individuals, we need to interrogate the things that we do and the things that we believe. For example, when I was in high school, when I was in primary school and I schooled in the village, we used to be beaten a lot because of maths. And later on in secondary school, we were taught formulas like trigonometry. I worked in the banking industry for 10 years and never used trigonometry anywhere. I am sure it is used in other disciplines. Maybe if I ask Captain Mary in the aviation, probably. But is that a good example to say we need not take everything at face value, we need to ask questions, okay? So back to the quote, we need to step into each day with open minds so that we can ask critical questions and fuller hearts. You need to embrace who you are. If you've listened to the testimonials, David, it's nice to meet you today for the first time. When David bought my books, I had no idea who he was. I only learned much later that he was actually suicidal. So we need to step into each day with fuller hearts. You have no idea who the person you sit next to here in University, Tangaza, is going through. When Millie enrolled for our courses, we only learned later on that the husband was sick and then passed on. So we need to have empathy. You don't know what people are going through, and that's an aspect of social intelligence. So we not only need financial intelligence, and Nabo Capital will teach us that, we also need social intelligence and also spiritual intelligence, so that you can ask God. I may not know who the people I'm rubbing shoulders with in the supermarket are going through, but give me a burden for humanity. That is still part of personal development. Even a burden for people like me. I turned 50 last year, so Rose King and I and Millie, we are in the same WhatsApp group. We need to be, somebody needs to empathize with us because we worked so hard for so many years and we didn't understand the investments. Imagine. So our money was not compounding. My grandmother is alive. I stayed with her here in Nairobi. She's 95 years. So I was looking after her even up to midnight this morning. So I hope I'm still awake. When I look at grandma every day, I keep thinking, supposing their generation child had been taught investment and compounding, I totally believe my grandma would be a dollar millionaire. I thank God she has some property, so maybe if we did the maths, she still has something. But are you getting where I'm coming from? That we need to make education practical, and that's part of what we do at Personal Development Institute. I want to finish my quote. So let's step into each day with open minds and fuller hearts, and let's grow into the people we are becoming together. Collaborations and partnerships. You cannot grow alone. We need each other, and that is why through Dr. Rita, we are so grateful to God for the partnership with Tangaza University. So one of the tools we use at PDI is this tool called the Wheel of Life. Brian, if you can, yeah? We of course believe God is at the center of everything that we do, but we like to interrogate what is your current knowledge or your experiences about learning? Are you learning every day? I think we have overemphasized academic education, and while it has its place, life is tested more on everyday basis than the exams we do quarterly, or at the end of a semester or at the end of a year, in academic institutions. So what are you learning every day? Your spiritual life, your physical well-being and fitness, relationships, fun and enjoyment. There's a time for that nice good holiday within the country or outside the country, but you can also just go and sit somewhere and have some quiet time, and catch up with yourself. Do you know sometimes we're so busy we don't even catch up with ourselves? So fun and enjoyment is part of what we also teach at PDI. And for many years we partnered with Bonfire Adventures when we used to do physical classes to just help us tour even Kenya. Can you imagine people take a plane from the US? How many hours to get to Kenya? 14, maybe slightly more. While some of you've never been to Masai Mara, and it's just here, you don't even need to take a plane. So we need to ask ourselves those questions. And then, of course, work. In terms of self-awareness, the next slide, you've heard many people talk about the DISC assessment, and it is important to understand yourself. The Ds are 3% of the world population, and these are people that are very determined, very direct in terms of feedback or communication, and very result-oriented. They are very driven. Which political figure comes to mind when you hear those percentages? of people that are very driven. They can almost step on your shoulders to go where they need to go. Which political figure comes to mind? I want you to give me international figures so we don't get in trouble with our politicians. But we can all tell, that, for example, someone, whether you like him or not, you know, from a perspective of personality, President Donald Trump would fall in the D category, very driven. Then we have the I personality, 11% of the world population. And these are people that are very persuasive, very outgoing, very enthusiastic, very talkative. Sometimes you have a child who is always told what? Nyamaza. Anaongea sana. But you could be deeming that child because maybe they are a future minor academic. Very influential, very talkative, you know. So it's important to understand yourself and understand others. And there is no personality that is better than the other. People are predictably different. Then we have the C personality, and these are people who are very detail-oriented. You know, they love details, they love facts, they can't make decisions without it being logical, they are not moved by emotions. That is 17% of the world population, and they are called the C's. Very analytical. They are even analyzing the things I'm saying here and wondering whether this disc is even correct. They know themselves. Then we have the majority of the people in the world that are called steady. We call them they are the sweet people. They are very stable. They are very unmoved. They listen to people to understand them, unlike the D's who listen to hear while they are thinking of the answer they will get. Yeah? Very thoughtful people, very supportive and very patient, and thankfully, they make the majority of the world population at 69%. We do this assessment for children from the age of 9 to 13. They have their own assessment. Then from the age of 13 all the way teenagers, there's a different assessment. And then there's another assessment for adults, so that you can understand yourself. And then for those of us who are spiritual, it doesn't matter where you worship, but as long as you acknowledge there is God, we also have what we call the spiritual gifts, so that you can understand what are your spiritual gifts and how do you use them in the marketplace. So the D's and the I's are very outgoing, what we call the extroverts. The C and the S are introverted, so you can already begin to place yourself. The D and C are task-oriented. Like our colleague here from PDI-TKC, she came into the room, I didn't even think she had seen us because she was all about tasks. Like, is this set? You know, everything task. Well, the rest of us will put up a story because we are people-oriented. Yeah? So the I and S are people-oriented. So if we can understand each other in our homes, in our organizations, become deeply self-aware, life will become much better. I want to stop at that and invite Charles to help us understand more about our finances. But I must say that Nabo Capital, personally, my finances have really grown and shifted. Like I said, I turned 50 last year, and I wish I had come across Nabo Capital at the age of 22. So students, begin to invest. You know, if I had come across Nabo Capital when I was 22 when I got my first job, I'd probably be a dollar millionaire. But we're trying to catch up. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Let's appreciate the visionary of PDI, Coach Irene Moreno. So we are now going to hear from Charles Miano. Charles Miano is an expert in the area of investment. He's a seasoned and experienced investment professional. And at Nabo Capital, he's the manager, strategic client partnerships and growth.
for here so it can duplicate. So you're able to see the same thing.
Before Charles takes to the podium, we have some registration forms with us here. So if you not put down your details, please just indicate your details, and on the last column, place a tick if you want to receive information from us. Thank you. Then the media team is also requesting us to have our phones on silent mode. Sorry that we forgot that. Have your phones on silent mode. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So my name is Charles Miano. I today representing Nabo Capital, and I'll be talking to you about. And something I wanted to start off with is what we've been hearing for PDI is a biblical, God-driven way of looking at development or personal growth. However, investments, most people think of it as money, something ya dunia. But actually, Christ talked about investments. And he talked about it. All of you have heard of the parable of the talents. Who has heard of it? Parable of the talents? Okay. What most people don't understand is the parable of the talents is not about talents or gifts. It's about money. So what was a talent? A talent was equivalent to 6,000 denarii. So what was 6,000 denarii? It was a unit of payment every day when you worked as a laborer. So one talent was equivalent to 20 years of work. How many of you have worked over 20 years? 20 years of working? Okay, we have some. Neither have I haven't worked 20 years. I've just done 8. And so the parable goes this way, simply. There's a master. He's going on a long trip. This is Matthew 25. And he leaves 3 people and says, person 1, I'm giving you 5 talents. That's almost 100 years of work. I'm giving you 5 talents. Person 2, I'm giving you 2 talents. Person 3, I'm giving you 1 talent. So I'm going away. When I come back, I'll see you later. So what does person 1 do? Take the 5 talents, trade it, and they generate 5 talents extra. So how many talents do they have in total? How many? 10, yes. Okay. Person 2 grows their 2 talents, and now they have an additional 2. How many talents do they have? Great. Tuko pamoja, right? Fantastic. And then person 1 is like, I need to ensure that I protect this money. So he goes, hides this money, puts it, hides it in the sand, keeps it there. Basically, we've heard, put your money under the blanket. He basically does that. Then the master comes and asks them, okay, come, each of you 3, what did you do with your talent? Person 5 says, I had 5 talents you gave me, you entrusted me, I gave you 5 more, so you have 10 talents. Master says, good, faithful servant, you have done well. Person 2 comes, you gave me 2 talents, I only did 2, I have 4. He says the same thing, well done, good and faithful servant. Person 1 says, I hid my money in the ground, or my talent. I didn't generate anything, but at least I gave you the same. You gave me 1, I gave you 1. The master says, wicked servant, slothful. Slothful is basically lazy servant. I banish you and take you away. And it's very important to think about that. Each person was given different talents. And this is not talent of gifts. This is money. And they used it in different ways. The master didn't expect each of them to have the same amount. He didn't expect the person with 5 talents to get to 50. He didn't expect the person with 2 talents to get to 20. But he did expect someone to generate something out of it, to invest it, right? The one person he did not was called wicked, was called lazy. And it's very important, why did Christ do that in that world? And how does it apply to us today? And it applies very much so because each and every one of us is given different amounts of money that be it pocket money as students. When you're working, you're given your salary. When you're doing, if it's a contract job, you're given some money at the end of the work. And you're entrusted with that money to invest it. Because at the end of the day, if you go out of your work and you come out with zero, you might end up being called wicked and slothful. So I hope with this class, it'll be brief, but hopefully you learn something about investing and something you can start from someone who's in school to someone who's working and someone who's retired. Anyone can apply that. So I hope all of us by the end of this journey of learning this and by the end of our lives, God will tell us, I gave you custodian of this amount of talents and you are a well and faithful servant. So who wants to be a faithful servant? Fantastic. Okay, you can go next. Next. So, yes. So just speaking briefly about Nabu Capital so you understand who we are. So we are a company that has been there through our parent company for over 50 years. Our parent company is known as Centum Investments. Who knows Centum? Who's ever heard of Centum? Good. Yeah, so Centum are known for being the largest investment company in Africa. They're the ones who built Two Rivers. Who's been to Two Rivers? At least most of us, yes. So they are our parents. They own us, and we came through, and we've been there for 50 years. So Centum started in 1954 and has been growing ever since. Next. And the things that we do as Nabu Capital, we offer 3 services. One is we offer wealth management. Basically, this is helping individuals like myself, like yourselves, to achieve your dreams and to be able to meet your aspirations. The particular ones is, the most important one is financial freedom. We all want to be free in one way or another. That's why we work, so we can have our money work for us. You don't want to be working throughout your career and you don't have your money working for you, right? So it's important to get that financial freedom. And with that, we'll explain how to do that through Invest with Purpose that you've heard been mentioned. Second thing we do is for companies. We also work for companies, and we try to help them generate more income to grow their capital so they can support growth for their businesses and be able to manage liquidity, basically money that they'll be using on a day-to-day basis to become a bigger business. And then lastly is advisory. We try to connect people who have money or people who have money to the people who are looking for money so they can come together and form a partnership. And so with that, we'll speak about Invest with Purpose. And, okay, so investing with purpose starts with first looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Who's ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? A good number, good number. Okay. So basically, these are the things you've heard of as like the basic needs, and it grows. So Maslow expanded this into 5 frontiers. So the first one we all try to get to is physiological needs, or your basic needs. That's your food, your water, your clothing. So once you've achieved that, you go to your safety. It means that if you haven't achieved this level of needs, then it becomes very difficult for you to climb up, because sometimes you struggle over here. So once you've achieved that, you go to your safety. So what's your safety? Having security, just feeling that, okay, you're at a safe place, right? Then now beyond your security, you've achieved your food, water, clothing, that is good. You have your security. Then now you go to your third need, which is your belongingness and love needs. And this is for everyone, male, female, Christian and Christian, every human being, African and African, everyone. Belongingness and love needs. Now people crave for intimate relationships. People crave for friends. And then after you've achieved that, you go to esteem needs. Now you're looking for things like prestige and accomplishment. And then lastly is where most, you'd say, most accomplished people are here. Self-actualization, so achieving one's full potential and every other endeavor. So when we're looking at that from an investment perspective, maybe I can come here, is One is we look at it from a lifestyle portfolio. So that's food, clothing, shelter, as I've mentioned. So how can you use your investments to help you secure that if you're trying to meet that particular goal in your life? Then after that, you need your security, which we call the security portfolio. So this is your education, if you're looking for further studies, healthcare, which is important. When you fall sick, do you have the money necessary to cater when that arises? And also, very important, home ownership. And something beyond that is also looking at emergency funds. So if something emergency comes up, it could be your emergency, it could be your family's emergency. Are you able to have something to help someone out? And also looking at, Coach Irene mentioned, vacations, at least having some rest. Are you able also to pay that? So that's very important. And then third is your aspirational portfolio. Okay, so here are needs that are beyond the basic ones. So the basic ones are the physiological and the safety. And now beyond that is an extra need. So things like a good car, something like philanthropy, something like, luxurious stuff. And sometimes it's not bad to want these things. It's part of our lives. It's what we've grown up, and having that type of aspiration is good. All of us are different, but each and every one of us has some aspiration that you want to achieve. And then lastly goes to legacy. So what are you leaving? So this comes to your legacy. What are you leaving in terms of your generational wealth? What are you leaving for your family when, in case you pass away in the future? So this becomes very important. And what we try, just the previous one, what we try as NABO is to help you achieve this depending on where you are. For many of us, we're starting from point one, but trying still to make sure we're secure in our food, our clothing, our shelter, that we have a home, we're able to educate our kids, we're able to have an emergency fund, let's say in case you lose your job, and some people have lost their job, especially during COVID. How do you survive during such hard times? And then beyond that, you're able also to do more of aspirational things, and so we try to help you as NABO Capital to get through that, and I'll talk to you how we do that. Next, please. And so what's investments? Simple definition, or somewhat, is investments is both an art and a science, okay? And so it's an art and science of allocating resources to opportunities. So there's two things you need to look at when you look at investments. You need to look at return and risk, okay? It's good to know what type of risk profile you are. Most young people have high risk tolerance. What does that mean? You can take more risk because you want to grow your money faster, okay? When you're older, you want to conserve the money you've made over time, so you have low risk. So it's good to have that assessment of what type of risk you want, and then balance that with return. In the law of finance, we say higher returns, higher risk. Lower return, lower risk, okay? So you have to balance both. If you want high returns, you can't have high returns with low risk, okay? So that helps you also. For some of us, how many of you have ever been conned? How many of you have been conned? I've been conned. How many of you have been conned? Good. If you notice, what's the common thread, similarity is, it's always they give you high returns, but they make it sound that it's very low risk, right? High return, low risk. I'll give you an example. Will be nitakupatia, give me 100,000. I'll give you 200,000 by next week, or by the end of the month, I'll double your money. Those are the type of cons we receive because it doesn't make sense where you're getting a lower risk and high return. So it's very important. So investments, key thing to note is those two things, return and risk. Okay. And so the most important ones to note for when it comes to financial markets, where investments are there's capital markets, where there is stocks. How many of us have heard of stocks? Okay, that's good. Bonds? Okay. And I'll go to the definitions for that, for those of us who don't understand. Then you have our money market. And so our capital markets I've mentioned is stock and bonds, okay? I'll define them later. Money markets, it's short-term securities, investing for usually less than 1 year, okay? That is money market. And then you have your currency markets where people invest in different currencies like the dollar, the shilling, and even crypto investments for the young people who are familiar with that falls under currency markets, okay? And then lastly is commodity markets, which is investing in commodities such as cereals, livestock, metals. It's just for noting that. Next, please. Okay, so now the definitions for us. These are the most common investments you will see now and into the future. They haven't changed. In 100 years, they've been the same thing. They've just changed a bit, but it's been the same thing, and in the future, it'll be the exactly same thing. So what are stocks? Stocks are ownership in a company. So when we purchase a stock, people have heard of Safaricom. Who has invested in the stock market, by the way? Good. You have some here. Okay, so when you invest in the stock market, you're investing in the ownership of a company, okay? So you're buying, for example, when you invest in Safaricom, you're basically becoming an owner of Safaricom through those shares, okay? So what is bonds? Bonds is debt that is issued typically by the government or a company, like treasury bonds issued by the government and corporate bonds issued by a company. Who has ever invested in bonds? Either in the past or now? Okay, not so many people. So usually the government, for example, the government of Kenya borrows a lot from the people. So the government of Kenya, when they are running their budget, they will raise money through KRA. But typically KRA doesn't give them enough money to pay for education, to pay for infrastructure, to pay for all these services they offer the people. So they'll have to borrow some amount of money from Kenya. They'll borrow from investors or people like ourselves. So when they borrow that amount of money, they issue with a bond. And that bond, you will hold it for a period of time and you get a certain return, say 12%. Okay, so that is a bond. Basically, government borrowing from people. Derivatives, not so important in this given context, but it's usually financial contracts which are derived from others. So I won't talk too much about that. And then alternative assets. I'll speak a bit about this. This is where real estate falls in. Kununua shamba, this is where it is. However, what you've realized is you have ownership of, let's say, stocks, bonds, which typically sometimes give a better return than now real estate. Real estate is like buying apartment, buying land. Most of us, that's the custom. We buy land. You get any extra money, you buy land. And that happens to many of us, but you get stuck in those lands, as we've been given a testimony today. So it's good to have a balance, okay? So next, please. So now I'll talk about collective investment schemes. So this is where you've heard of the money market funds. Who've heard of money market funds? Yeah, money market funds, good. So what are these collective investment schemes? So these are money that are pulled together. So Charles brings his money, Felix brings his money, Coach Irene brings her money, and we put it in a pot. Imagine that, like a pot. And then it's invested. It's invested in what you've seen. It's invested in bonds. It's invested in deposits in a bank. And when you invest it together, it generates a return for everyone, okay? So that's how mutual funds work, or CISs. So basically, it's many people bringing their money together. For example, the Nabo Money Market Fund is worth 4.5 billion shillings, okay? So this 4.5 billion shillings that we manage is over 6,000 people. 6,000 people are brought in. There's someone who's brought in 1,000 shillings. There's someone who's brought in 10 million shillings. There's a company which has brought in 100 million. All of you are together. And the good thing about CIS, or a collective investment scheme, all of you earn in the same return. And that's the beauty of investing in a money market or a fixed income fund, is that the same person who brought in 100 million and someone who brought in 10,000 shillings are earning the same return. So you can grow and get the opportunity as well. So that's what collective investment scheme. So if you ever see collective investment scheme or CIS, just understand it's the money market fund, it's a fixed income funds, okay? Can go next, please. And why is it important to invest in this when you're starting out, okay? It's important because you get one, diversification. So you're getting return and good risk, okay? You're getting a balance of risk and return, as I mentioned. And your money is safe, so you have safety here, okay? So the chances of you losing your money is very, very, very small, okay? Second is you're able to access your money at an affordable rate. You can invest as little as 1,000. Which land can you buy at 1,000 shillings? Which land can you buy at 10,000 shillings? Which land can you buy at 100,000 shillings? Very few lands, good ones, you can buy that with less than 1,000,000 shillings. And even if you to buy land, for example, for 1,000,000 shillings, you'll have to go ushago huko. And the value, to get that value back, is going to take you a very long time. But with as little as 1,000 shillings, you can invest in a CIS and get the same benefit that someone with 1,000,000,000 shillings can get. So very important to look at that. And then lastly is you're getting professional management. Okay, so someone who's worked, someone whose expertise and experience has been in the investment industry. I myself have been working for 8 years at Nabo Capital. I did finance as a degree, and throughout that journey, you get to see the markets, you get to see the experiences, the ups and downs, and through that experience, you're able to make better decisions for our investors. So you're getting someone who's experienced, who's an expert looking at your money. Your 1,000 shillings, your 10 million shillings, your 100 million shillings, we all look at it through collective investment schemes. So it's very important. Consider diversification, consider accessibility, and consider someone who's professionally managing your money. And then now, looking at the money market fund. So what is a money market fund? It's basically high, stable. It's basically, if I can define it, it seeks to provide high, stable current income and capital growth over the short term for the most part, okay? So you're able to grow your money over a short period of time, okay? So it's much better than putting your money in the bank. And it's able also to compound your money. When you put money in your bank, you receive what you call your interest and you stay with it. But compounding is basically your interest growing over time, and that's very important, okay? So I did this exercise. If you were to start with 10,000 shillings, okay, and you said, I'm going to invest 1,000 shillings per month for the next 10 years, okay? You start with 10,000, you invest 1,000 shillings for every month for the next 10 years consistently. Say even in a money market fund, your amount will be over 500,000 Kenya shillings, guaranteed. Even the most simple money market fund, just consistently 1,000. That's not assuming you're earning a job. That's not assuming you get a good return, you get some good income, you increase it from 1,000 to 10,000, but consistently just growing it through compound interest. So it's very important, and this one's typically very low risk, and usually you get your money at any time. As fast as you put your money, easily you can get your money out. So very low risk and relatively high return compared to just putting your money in the bank, okay? Next. And then the fixed income. This one is preferable for investors looking to put money for a long period of time, okay? Typically more than 1 year. Fixed income fund, we recommend for someone to do that. And then you're able to grow your funds very well. And the returns are typically quite good, over 12% returns over time. So, and especially if you're looking to invest for the long run, right? You don't just to invest for 2025. You're looking to invest, so if you say you're retiring the next 20 years, you're secure. You're wealthy enough to to support yourself when you retire, when you don't have a job, then this is a very good fund to start with. And even as a student, and you have some pocket money and to put away, I recommend the fixed income fund because you're growing your money consistently over time, okay? And you can get in with as little as 1,000 shillings in some funds, as little as 10,000 shillings to start with, okay? And then now, I'd like to highlight something that we've been working collaboratively with TKC, the Kingdom Connect, and through with PDI. And this is a fund, a special fund. So this fund is catered for members of the TKC. And why it's a special fund is that it takes into account the needs of the members of TKC. And one of the key benefits of that is the same things that I talked about, but now catered for the investment requirements of TKC. The other ones are mandated by the government. The government tells you how to manage that fund. These ones, we sit down with TKC and we say, okay, what are the needs of your members? How do they want their money to grow? What type of return are they looking at? What type of risk? As I mentioned, risk and return, those two key things, you can't escape them. You have to talk about return and you have to talk about risk. What type of risk and return do they want? And then we invest accordingly, okay? Okay? And so we've been able to grow that fund over the last 2 or so years, and it's grown to over 100 members, and it's growing quite well. And we've seen good testimonials from some of the members who stood here today to talk about how they've invested. And this is something I think through PDI you can get more information around. And we are very happy to have partnered with TKC. We've seen how financial literacy has spread, and it's not something that you learn in school, unfortunately. I did finance for 4 years at Strathmore, and I wasn't taught how to invest. Yeah, I wasn't taught how to invest. I was taught how to theoretically manage money for other people, but I wasn't taught how should child start investing. And you're getting great platforms through this forum, through PDI, to just better understand how to invest. And if you take advantage of that, I guarantee you, you will not regret it. And I think with that, just to finalize, where to start is next. Yeah, this next one. Yes, there. Just to finalize on my end, first step is trying to see, okay, there's this 3 cycle, okay? There's making money, multiplying money, and managing money. Making money is your source of return, your source of funds. Could be as a student, maybe you're getting some allowance here and there. As an employee, you're getting your salary. You have to have your own self-management of being aware that I need to invest. No one will do that for you. That starts from within. And that's why personal development is very important. You're able to understand that I have to put myself first in investing. Second is, how do I leverage that and grow my funds? As the master brought it, the master has given you the money. You've been given whatever talent you've been given. Now let's talk about it in talents, biblical language. The talents, the funds. I've been given 10,000, you've been given 1,000. We're very different. We're very, very different. But what are you doing with that? And starting investing that is the first step. Don't sit on your money. Don't waste your money. Start investing in it. And now you've been given all the resources to really start. And thirdly, now, who do you give to steward that money? And that's why, like ourselves as Nabo Capital, we're here to steward that money, to ensure that your money is protected, to ensure your money is growing. So take advantage of that. Think about it that way. Try to be good custodians. So at the end of the day, Christ will say, well done, good and faithful. Thank you very much.
Let's speak about Nabo Chums in a minute.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rita. Okay. She's reminded me of something very important. So in collaboration, we have an app that we work with called Chums. Who's aware of Chums? Okay. Fantastic. So Chums, you can download it. It's available on your Play Store, okay? You can download it and you can start investing. We work with Chums and you can start investing as little as 100 Kenya shillings. They have various goals over there that you can invest. So just, if you have your phones out, I'd encourage you, please download Chums. We work with them, we've been working with them. The fund has grown. Imagine the fund now has over 300,000 people, and the fund currently, it started with as little as 1,000 shillings. The fund now, as I'm speaking, is worth 1 billion shillings. From all the people, especially the students are the biggest ones, as well as young professionals, as well as anyone. I am personally, I'm in Chums. We're saying, you're in Chums? Yes, Dr. Rita is in Chums. So I'd encourage you, if you want to start and you want to make your first step, do it as fast as you can, is just download Chums from your Play Store, start using it as little as 100 shillings, see how it grows, and then from there you can now start looking at it. And what Chums does is just invest in money market fund. So it's the same thing, okay? Chums. Oh, thank you. C-H-U-M-Z. C-H-U-M-Z. Okay? C-H-U-M-Z. Yeah, so you can access investments as quick as in 5-10 minutes using Chums as your first step towards growing your investment. And with that, thank you very much.
We don't market Nabo Capital as PDI at a fee, absolutely not. We share because our lives are being transformed. We have said some of us are late bloomers and we want our children to start early. So my son is 26, and because he might not have $1 million like me to be in the TKC Nabo LLP, he's in Chums where he can save his 100 bob. We share about Nabo Capital. Some silence, please. We share about Nabo Capital because of the transformation we are experiencing, and we want more people to be part of a credible investment company. I think, Charles, in total, when we had the CEO and Mercy at the PDI graduation recently, they said you're currently managing, is it 14 or 15.3 billion? How much? About 15.5 billion. So you can tell that they're a trusted firm. And I, as a former banker, seeing people lose money in scams and pyramid schemes, and a lot of our young people, by the way, the students here, people are losing money every day in betting. Please consider Chums or the other products by Nabo Capital for those of us who are older and you probably have more income that you can start to invest in. Yeah. So I want to open the floor for questions, just 3 minutes. I see a question there. Yes, Florence?
Yes, I have a question to Charles. In the times of recession, what happens what is the risk when there is recession?
Okay.
Okay, I'm asking when there is a recession, what are the risks when we have invested our money in our capital?
Okay, okay. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. It's a good question. So basically, maybe I can define what recession is for us who don't understand. Recession is when there's an economic downturn or when the economy is doing very badly. And we saw that during COVID. COVID-19 is the most recent one. And during that time, what we can ensure and what we do is we ensure your money is invested in good, solid opportunities that are risk-free, particularly when we invest in the government. For example, the government of Kenya, when we do analysis on that. So when you invested in, say, Chums, or invested in the money market, fixed income fund, or even the TKC LLP, we've ensured each and every investment we look at it on a monthly and quarterly basis. So there is more monitoring, okay? So we're not just monitoring in good times or even in bad times. We're monitoring good times, bad times, whatever the cycle, on a monthly basis consistently. And when something is looking that it's not going to do so well, we remove our clients' money from there and we invest in something that is more solid and more safe. Okay? So that's what we're able to do. Even during COVID, we took our money because we had some money abroad. We took them out from abroad and we brought it locally, and where we could monitor them much safely for our clients to ensure you don't lose your money. Okay? So through that monitoring, through that regular management, we're able to ensure there is safety or your money is safe, either for individual or for your organization. Yeah.
And in addition to that, if you go to the NABO YouTube, there is a lot of free education by all the members of NABO Capital, from the CEO, Pius, and Charles, and others. You can learn more about risk, because Charles, there is also something we have learned from NABO, that sometimes when there is blood on the street, that means when times are tough, like recession, that is sometimes when some people, because of knowledge, make the most money. And I'm sure some of us know that during COVID, it was tough for some people, but it is also when billions were also made.
Yeah.
Yeah. So knowledge, and that is why we partner with NABO now for the financial education at PDI. Some of the classes are a year long because you need to hear it every week to understand, and some are very short seminars for hours. Yeah. Any other question for Charles or myself? All right, I don't see any questions, so I believe we have delivered a masterclass, and we trust that it is going to be transformational. All the best to every one of us, and God bless you.